All right, AP, let's head on over to the hotline and let's welcome in our friend from KRIS 6, Miss Larissa Liska. That's a tongue twister. Sports director down there in the Coastal Bend. Larissa, how you doing?
Doing good. I will tell you up front, wouldn't be the first time. I go by the nickname Larissa now. I just roll with
Larissa,
it.
I love that. I'm just going to start calling you that if that's okay.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
I love it. I love it. Well, before we get into the nitty gritty football talk, we love to kind of bring our guests on and learn a little bit more about them. Now, to my understanding, you were up in the Amarillo area covering Texas high school football last season. Now you're back home in the Coastal Bend region. So, kind of give us your elevator pitch. What made you want to move back down there, and how's it been going?
Well, I've always kind of wanted to go back home. I know those teams like the back of my hand, and I know it's a great sports area to go to. And plus, I'm not going to lie, I miss the humidity. It sounds weird, but I miss the water and the beach life. So wanted to come back home. But I did love Amarillo. I mean, I can tell you what, Canyon ISD has one of the best stadiums I've ever seen. That's not in the big metroplex spot.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to them over there. And I always keep an eye on some of those teams as well. So it's interesting seeing like how West Plains, and I believe their first or second year is doing over there. And keeping up with those guys. But I really do love being back home. So I moved here in July of last year. So actually this last football season, I did get to be in Corpus Christi, and it was a fun ride because Refugio took me to Arlington to cover the state championship.
Yeah.
Wasn't the way it ended, but it was nice getting, going back to state and, covering that football environment. So that's what I love being back home too, just being so close to family and I mean, heck, really good baseball and softball as well. So
Absolutely.
I've loved being back home.
Whataburger Field's enough reason to move back anyway. What high school did you go to, Larissa?
I went to George West, and
Okay.
but it's funny because I'm from Three Rivers, and I always tell people whenever they ask me where I'm from, I say George West and Three Rivers because if I didn't say Three Rivers, my church community would be mad. But if I didn't say George West, that's my alma mater. But it's funny because they're both rivals and they hate each other. If anybody's listening in, please, when we do the realignment next year or redo schedules, make that a game because I didn't know it has been off the grid since 2013.
That's insane. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get into the football talk here. District play starts for most teams this week. Anything kind of shock you or surprise you in non-district play so far down there in the Coastal Bend?
I've been keeping an eye on the Toloso Midway Warriors, and that was a team last year. I believe it was their second year head coach, KRIS O'Neill. He's back, and that was a team I was kind of keeping an eye on. They looked like they had a chance last year. I know they made it, I believe, one round in playoffs, but they're in a tough district. You've got Cal Allen. That speaks for itself, the Alice Coyotes. And so I was kind of keeping an eye on them. They made some adjustments with they got a new defensive coordinator. They stole him from Veterans Memorial. And Veterans Memorial had one of the best D lines last year, and he was their D line coach. So that was a great steal for Tolosa Midway. And they're 4-0 for the first time since 2009. And it's not like they're playing walk in the park teams either. So I would say that storyline, if they can beat Alice, I believe week 7, then they have a bye week 8, then they could play Cal Allen for the district title. And Max Preps only goes back to 2004. But as far as that goes, Tolosa Midway has not beaten Cal Allen from 2004 to now. So I don't know. I'm like, that could be a storyline to keep an eye on, those Warriors.
Absolutely. Now, and it seems like just looking at our rankings here, small school ball is kind of prevalent down there, especially in the rankings so far this season. Who do you think, maybe like a Refugio, has a chance to make a run at AT&T Stadium?
Oh,
To
definitely
AT&T Stadium.
Refugio. I
Yeah.
mean, and I haven't kept an eye on Shiner, at least what I looked at the beginning of the season. They're not in our area, but, Shiner's always been a tough matchup. I think Three Rivers could give them a run for their money this year. I think Three Rivers could kind of battle for that second spot in the district. They've got a great quarterback in Caden Solis. And then, everybody's talking about the wide receiver connection with Derek Lancaster. I mean, that has been really solid. But then again, you've got Refugio. I mean, they're the ultimate big dogs in that district alone. They've just got so much talent. And what I'm kind of looking forward to, I don't know when it would happen, but one of my favorite games last year was actually the state semifinal in Houston when it was Refugio versus Timpson. And I know that game is on everybody's radar, the number 1 and number 2 team in 2A Division One. And Refugio just looks so good. You've got the fastest man in Texas, Ernest Campbell at wide receiver, Jordan King, one of the running backs. If y'all saw him at state last year, he looked like a brick wall. That man it does not leave the weight room, and they've just got so much other talent. I think Jordan Lewis, he made a big play a few weeks ago against Edna and stopped the game-winning touchdown. They've just got so much talent. I don't see them not bringing me back. But another team I'm keeping an eye on is Flower Bluff. They might not have the best record. We had a lot of lightning last week too, so a lot of games ruled a no contest. But Flower Bluff went pretty far last year. I just want to see them get it together. They're right there. So I just want to see what they can do. And I'm actually going to go watch them tonight, my first full game with Flower Bluff.
Nice. Ernest Campbell versus Terry Bussey is definitely something that we're hoping to see in that state semifinal game. But I do want to ask you about some of the larger schools, because down there in Region 4, obviously Veterans Memorial, Corpus Christi, Miller, those have traditionally been the powerhouses that's able to really make their way. There are some really good teams down in the valley this year that they would likely be meeting up with. They defeated them last year, but how are you feeling about the vibe around Miller and Vets and kind of looking forward, knowing that there is actually some competition this year in Region 4?
Miller, talking about Miller, they might have lost one of their top guys, Lonnie Atkinson, last year, but they don't really have the guy this year, but they look like a team. I'm really excited with what Miller's put together. And I think one thing that, might have been a little tough was they had a 2-quarterback system last year. And, they were successful with it, but now they're moving with Trevor Long. He's their main guy. And I really like where they've gone with that. I haven't seen too much of Miller yet, though, so I can't speak too much on them, but I like where they're going with it. I really like what they have over there. Now, Vets, I'm not going to lie, they surprised me. I know they lost against New Braunfels Canyon a few weeks ago, but they started the season with no quarterback. I think in this district, they had the least amount of returners. If you said, are they going to win district? I was not very high on it. But it's funny. They told me, I said, who's going to be your starting quarterback? They said, these are our top 2 guys battling for it. And then here's our 3rd string guy. He's a 6 foot, I think 2 or 3 basketball player, Billy White III. Well, guess who's been the guy who's been throwing the touchdowns? Their 3rd string quarterback, Billy White III. And, he's been hitting some of his top guys. That's the thing. He's got a lot of talent around him. Luke Johnson, who's a senior, is one of the big names they have. And then Christian Sabsuk, who's verbally committed to, I believe, Air Force. He's been a guy to keep an eye on. And those 2 guys are really helping this new quarterback fit in his role. And then their defense, I know they got an interception against New Braunfels Canyon. So that secondary, which Sabsuk and Johnson play both sides of the ball. So they have the endurance to go a full game both sides. So I think that week 9 matchup with Miller and Vets is really going to set the tone. But like you said, the Valley's got some good teams this year. It's not as stacked of a Veterans Memorial team as I've seen, but Ben Bittner is a great head coach. And I know if anybody can get them there, he can. But like I said, Miller, I really like where Miller's going. They've got a solid team this year. And I know they spoke really highly about their offensive line. So I don't know. That's going to be the hype. That week 9 is going to be the week for our big schools.
No doubt about that. One of my favorite questions to ask is about the players. I mean, there's a lot of talent, obviously, down there in the Coastal Bend region. Who are you keeping your eye out for this season, and who's making a little bit of noise down there?
Well, I definitely like, again, Christian Sabsuk. He's a guy that, I got a great You Got Mossed catch the other day. He's a guy that will go up and battle. And same thing on defense, I believe he's a kick returner. Like, he'll return a lot of plays back, too. And then, obviously, Refugio, Ernest the Flash Campbell is just so fun. And what I really like about Ernest is he's humble. He's just such a fun, happy guy, puts in the work and, believes in what Coach Herring is doing down there. So I really like him as well. And then Ingleside, the Mustangs, I really like the connection. Jaden Smith at quarterback, and then Aiden Jacobson at quarterback and Jaden Smith at wide receiver. They haven't beat Sinton in a while. And that combo with a new head coach, they've really bought in under Coach KRIS. And, this could be the year. Sinton is having – they're having an average year this year. Last year was one of their stronger years. So, I think Ingleside will be fun to watch with their player connection. I interviewed them a while back, Aiden Jacobson and Jaden Smith, and they said, he's like, Jaden said, back in the day, actually, we were in kindergarten and we played football, and I accidentally hit him so hard in the gut, he quit.
Oh, no.
So it's great to see him back.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Last question for you, and this is probably Pickle and I's favorite question to ask anybody. Down there in the Coastal Bend, a lot of really great seafood, I would presume. So if we're heading down there for a game, where are we going to eat?
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that's a good call. I really like Doc's because Doc's is right on the water. Doc's and Snoopy's are right by each other, so you really probably couldn't go wrong with both.
That's
but
amazing.
I love Doc's because you're right underneath one of the bridges going out to Flower Bluff. I mean, and it's beautiful. I've been there at sunset. And yeah, great food, great drinks. You know, you can't pass it up for sure.
All right, well, you go to Doc's, I'll go to Snoopy's, and we can meet afterwards at Scoopy's for ice cream because I'm a big Snoopy's girl.
That's amazing.
Oh, no, that's perfect. I love it.
Man, we need to get down there and
Yes,
do that.
correct.
That sounds like a
Correct.
fantastic idea. Well,
Great
Larissa,
views for a long time because it's not going to get cold anytime soon.
No kidding.
No, absolutely not. Well, Larissa, thanks so much for hopping on today. I know that your schedule is just as busy right now during the football season, but really appreciate you taking the time and to talk a little bit about the Coastal Bend. And good luck the rest of the season. We hope to see you very soon.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you on Arlington.
Absolutely.
Bye, Larissa.
She is Miss Larissa Liska. You can follow her on Twitter at Larissa Liska.